What's up, guys?
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Took some fun inspiration this morning, and I'm hoping that it's gonna, give a nice positive reflection for some of the people that were watching us daily. I had a longtime friend hit me up yesterday and send me, a real incredible message. It's just sometimes we get those little nudges that lets us know that we're in the right place. In this case, get myself out of the direct sunlight here so I don't wash my face out so much here. In this case, it was in the form of, getting a message from somebody whom I haven't talked to for a very long time and had, not written off, but had gotten to a point where I just wasn't sure if I'd ever talk to that person again, they were trapped in the madness, still, in that cycle of, victimhood and using and all of that other stuff. And, they reached out to me yesterday and, wrote me many paragraphs to tell me, the influence that I'd had on them long term, and they didn't, know how to say, thank you, or how to say, I appreciate you being out here and putting out what you're putting out to the world. Now, I don't use these kinds of references as a way for me to be like, man, I'm so cool, look at what I'm doing, all of this stuff. What I'm really trying to pull into into focus when I talk about stuff like this is that you don't fucking know who's watching you and how you might be inspiring them. And it's such a fucking powerful thing. It is so powerful for you to realize that you are having this massive impact on the people around you. We've got some people doing a heart war here. I think that's Abby and Lacey for sure. Thanks, guys. Thanks for all the love. But straight up distracting. But the thing is that that was just such a powerful experience for me, man. And one of the things that happened as a direct result of that is that it just gave me a massive boost in confidence. And that's a good thing, And then what I've been trying to do lately is just pop open my Spotify, pop open, whatever on my phone. And when I'm trying to figure out what I'd like to talk to, seeing what the universe is going to lay on my heart, seeing what what's the word for it here? Infinite intelligence, the universe, God, whatever you call it, is going to lay on my heart to talk about that day. I had an old excerpt from some speeches. You guys did, thank you. An old excerpt from some speeches by a guy named Neville. I can't remember his last name offhand. I'm bad at remembering names. But should definitely check it out. It's called Trusting in God. I believe the short version is called Excerpts from his Meditations. But in this, it talks about a vision that he had, a little thought experiment that he did with a neighbor of his that was just an incredibly negative person and didn't really, know how to be positive or just put out any kind of positive, good energy. And he started in his mind sending all of his love to that person through his imagination. And eventually he realized through a dream and some other things that he actually had come to love this person. And I don't mean love this person as in I'm in love with them. I mean that has come to learn what loving a real human being meant through that experience. And through that experience, realized that he could choose to put that same energy into imagining himself loving himself. And that if you were able to fall in love with the person, the me, the whatever you'd like to call it, the spirit that lives inside of you, that you could change everything in your exterior world through that one choice to love yourself. And that ties into account exactly what my friend was talking about last night, how he used to think that it was considered dude, goosebumps as soon as I brought that up. How he used to consider that it was selfish to love yourself before you loved other people, and that he used a phrase that fucking kicked me right in the nuts, but in a good way. And that was, he said, I only ever took responsibility for my wins. And I was like, damn, I didn't realize that part of me had changed. But when he said that, I was like, fuck, that used to be me too. I used to only take accountability for the things that I did right and not for the things I did wrong. But what it turns out is that you cannot fucking stand on a pile of your positive traits and ignore the trench of the bad ones. You will fall into it over and over again. You must magnify the bad ones and choose to correct them. If there is two things that we know are for sure infinite, I'm going to say all of creation is infinite and our imaginations are infinite. And I choose to believe in some kind of different spiritual fashions from a lot of people that ascribe to various different religions or even ascribe to, my own belief systems. I believe that God is both the universe and creation and everything in everything all at once. It says in the Bible and in many other things that in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So essentially to me what that says is that we communicate. I'm communicating to you right now with words. And I read a little bit of this book called The Four Agreements. I've read it many times. I was reading it with Lacey. I read it to her the other night, or some of it, a couple of excerpts, I guess. And it talks about how the Word is the most fucking powerful thing that we have as human beings, that it is our strongest power of creation, that everything that we do in our lives begins with the Word. It begins with the ability to believe that something is possible. And you cannot believe something is possible without knowing what that something is. That means that therefore things must be defined for us to understand. And for something to be defined, it has to have words put to it. So therefore, our creative power is essentially the Word. It is only the Word. And we manifest our lives and the outside world based off of the Word that we keep in our own heads. And therefore, God, the universe, and all of creation, infinite intelligent, lives within you at all times. And that means that we just have but to access that. And for us to access infinite intelligence, for us to access creation and God and the very Creator that created us in its own image to be creators. What's the money I'm getting? We have, for us to, access that, we must create. We must create. And when we stand upon a mountain of our achievements without acknowledging that we must create the new patterns to destroy the negative thought patterns and to destroy the negative habits we have. So really what we're actually doing is we're not destroying them. We're creating a new thing and no longer feeding the negative thing. All right? Just like a plant, it doesn't matter if it's a fucking poisonous plant or if it's a plant that's going to bear delicious fruit. If you water it and fertilize it, the motherfucker's going to grow. All right? So literally, despite the fact that we think of negativity as being a subtractive force, it is an additive force all the same. Human beings do not know how to take things away. We only know how to take our attention and place it somewhere else. It is impossible for us to subtract something out of our own minds. Once it's there, it's there. But if we don't feed it, it withers and dies. Okay, but that doesn't mean it never existed. It's important to keep that in mind. It's important to understand that, again, our power of creation is the most fucking potent thing within us. And as long as we choose not to acknowledge that, we are allowing the God that lives within us, the very creation of the universe, the very creator of the universe that lives within us because we are part of it. When all types of religions and spirituality concepts and stuff and say, I am God and you are God and we are God, that's what they're saying is that creation lives within us. They're not saying I'm all fucking powerful. It's saying that I am part of creation and therefore God is within me. I don't know how to put that more clearly. I wish I could because it sounds somewhat confusing to me, but it sounds just like such a childlike sense of, wow, that's an amazing fucking thing to know. It ties in for me every type of spirituality that there is into one understanding. It doesn't matter to me who says it and who thought of it. Nobody, we're all part of it, man. If you really read into it, Jesus taught the same things that the Buddha did, and that the Tao did, and that all these other philosophies did throughout the years, to love one another, treat each other as you would like to be treated. If we are creation and creation lives within us, when I treat another creation and another person that creation lives within poorly, that is literally treating myself however I am. Like, does that make sense? Like, you are actively, actually treating that other person. That other person who is you, because you are still part of the same creation. And when we learn that our power of creativity is best expressed through helping one another, then we become one with the other people that we help. We actually manage to become a person who lives with that love in their heart. And until then, we're just pretending. And as I mentioned, just because it's negative, just because you're pretending something's real, doesn't mean that you're not feeding it. And that's how people go into psychosis. That's how we get these crazy mental illnesses where people believe all kinds of fucking wild shit despite the evidence to the contrary. And I'm a person that is a very empirical individual. I like to think of things in clear-cut, logical terms that make sense. I do believe that the universe functions on laws. I believe that it functions with rules. And that empirically assumes that there was a creator. Like, nothing doesn't come from chaos. Like, chaos does not create order. It's never been able to. All right? And so when we choose to acknowledge that, when we choose to acknowledge, no matter what your spiritual belief is, that there is a beginning and an end, there is a creation, there is a creator, then all of a sudden we can function within the rules and actually fucking thrive. I believe that science and theology and spirituality can be married and paired perfectly with no gaps, because we're all the same person. All science is trying to do is to put an explanation to what people who have faith just assume. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But we all have to remember, nobody's right and nobody's wrong. It's how we treat one another and what we build together that's what fucking matters. And how we treat one another is a direct reflection on how we feel, and what we build together is a direct reflection on how much we allow creation to live within inside us. So I hope today that this was something that was able to like open your eyes like it does me. I heard that little lecture this morning. It was 2.5 minutes. My fucking every hair on my body stood on end. I got cold chills. I was driving. I stopped what I was doing. I messaged Lacey and I was like, check this shit out. As soon as I got here, I was like, hey James, check this shit out, because it was just like, it fucking hit me right there. And when stuff hits you right here, you need to share it. That's literally God telling you. That's literally infinite intelligence telling you. That's literally the universe telling you that you've struck upon a fucking gold vein in all of the confusion. I love y'all. I got to get tattooing my clients here. Have a good day.